Once I realized that my mother was a narcissist and began to understand the depth of her abuse, I vowed never to let my own children near her. As I healed and understood more about her condition, however, I began to think about how I could allow her contact with my children, while still keeping them protected from her toxicity. The techniques I will describe here have worked like a charm. My mother fully understands the limits I've put in place, and I regularly check in with my kids to ensure she isn't doing something behind my back. These tactics can work for you too. Number 1. Limit contact. Protecting children from narcissistic abuse is vital for their health. As pointed out in this article by the CPTSD Foundation, that is, Complex Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Foundation, narcissistic abuse actually causes brain damage in children. A good way to protect your children from toxic grandparents and the damage they can do is to limit their contact with them. This can take several forms. You might limit the length of time they spend with your children, and you can also limit the frequency of visits. I chose to limit the frequency to once a month, and then only for 2 hours at a time. That way I could control the visit and prepare for it too. It was important to me to sit down with my children before they were going to be around their grandparents. I could talk to them about toxic behaviors and explain what they might see from their grandmother. I would also explain that if they feel bad about anything their grandparents say to them, they can always ask me about it. I take that opportunity to also reassure them that they are loved unconditionally and that they don't have to be afraid of challenging anything their grandmother might say or do. Of course, your children have to be old enough to understand what you're talking about. Before that time, it will be up to you to shut down bad behavior. Number 2. Supervise visits. Until you are confident that your children can spot toxic behavior, shut it down, or confident that they will tell you about it, it's a good idea to supervise their visits with their narcissistic grandparents. Supervising the visits sends a clear message to those narcissistic grandparents that you are serious about protecting your child. You are willing to make sure they won't be able to emotionally abuse them, as they did you. It also allows you to watch out for any subtle manipulation tactics that your children might not be sophisticated enough to spot. Narcissistic abuse can often be very subtle, and many young children won't fully understand what is happening. You don't necessarily have to take part in the interactions unless you spot something like that, but you'll want to be listening to what your children's narcissistic grandparents are saying. As you already know, narcissists play the long game. They might lay the foundation for future abuse. You've been through it, so you can spot that and shut it down before they get a chance to do any real damage. This is particularly vital if you have more than one child. Number 3. Encourage open family communication. As part of what I expressed about talking with your child, you want to be sure to encourage open family communication. Psychotherapists often talk about creating a safe place for their clients to express their emotions and thoughts. You want to do the same thing for your children. You want them to know that you won't judge them for what they might say or feel. You should also let them know that you won't allow other people in the family to disparage or bully them. Disagreement on topics is, of course, acceptable, but it should be respectful. When you make your children feel as though they can come to you with anything, you can be certain they will express feelings they might have about possible narcissistic abuse. You can't be with them all the time, and even if you supervise visits with their grandparents, they may still be able to contact them without your knowledge. You have to help your children to understand the difference between acceptable behavior and abuse. It's kind of like that parable about giving a man a fish versus teaching him how to fish. If you teach your children about how to recognize and diffuse abusive situations, you are giving them skills that will help them throughout their life. Number 4, don't let them play favorites. Narcissistic grandparents will absolutely pick a golden grandchild. They do this as parents too, and it's very hurtful. Narcissists always want a golden child and a scapegoat. This might make you wonder if they even love their grandchildren at all. They shower the golden child with love so that the other children will try their hardest to be better and get that kind of attention too. They will do the same with their grandchildren. While it might seem like it's okay for the one they choose as a favorite, it's even more abusive than for the scapegoat child. Yes, the narcissist blames the scapegoat for anything that goes wrong, but they set the golden child up for an ultimate betrayal. They idealize the golden child or grandchild, but that won't last. They build up unrealistic expectations for that child, and then they coldly reject that golden grandchild or child when they can't live up to those expectations. Number 5, confront hurtful gossip. Narcissistic grandparents love nothing better than to spread hurtful family gossip. Narcissists love creating drama because it makes them feel powerful. They feel as though they can better manipulate all parties involved. When your children's narcissistic grandparents start spreading family gossip, shut it down immediately. Explain to your children that no one knows what other people are going through, and it's best to not make judgments without a full understanding of the situation. Let them know that they can't possibly have a full understanding of the situation without speaking to the people involved. Listening to rumors isn't a good way to get reliable information about any topic. Encourage your children to shut down gossip as well, so that even if you're not around, they won't listen to that kind of toxic talk. It's also helpful to explain to them that someone who gossips about other people will also be gossiping about them behind their back. Number 6, give your child unconditional love. Probably the most important thing you can do for your child is to give them unconditional love. That doesn't mean you condone bad behavior, but it does mean that you're always in their corner. Let them know that no matter what kinds of emotions they might express, you'll never stop loving them. You can also let them know that you'll always love them regardless of their behavior. You might punish them for doing something wrong, but you won't stop loving them. It's important to give this kind of relationship foundation so that they will be aware of what love feels like. That will help them recognize abuse when they experience it. It also helps them come to you with any doubts or problems they may be having. If their narcissistic grandparents do or say something that makes them feel odd, they will be willing to come to you and discuss it. That keeps the lines of communication open so your children can express themselves when they're concerned about something. Children often know that something feels wrong, but they can't quite identify why they feel that way. Number 7, keep no contact on the table. Finally, it's important that narcissistic grandparents know you are willing to go no contact if they don't abide by your wishes. Whether it's right or not, grandparents really have very few legal rights to see their children. You can stop them if you feel they are hurting your child, and they really won't have much recourse. By impressing upon your narcissistic parents that you will stop them from seeing your children, you are setting a hard boundary about what kind of behavior you will accept. Don't be afraid to follow through on that either. Let them know that, so they will be motivated to adhere to your wishes if they want to see their grandchildren. In the end, it might be hard to understand that a narcissistic grandparent would treat even their beloved grandchildren in an abusive manner, but it's true. Narcissistic grandparents will use every type of abusive tactic they used with you as a child on your own children. Narcissists lack empathy, and therefore they don't fully grasp the consequences of their actions on other people. They will lie, triangulate, gaslight, and even use your children's own emotional wounds against them. That's a big part of why I've created this 5-step roadmap to heal emotional triggers. It's a good way for both you and your children to recognize, diffuse, and heal emotional triggers. Emotional wounds happen to everyone, no matter how good their parents are. It's just a part of life. But the triggers created by that wounding can be healed, and that will prevent toxic people like narcissistic grandparents from using them against their victims. To get a free copy of this handy guide, just click on the link below the video. I'll send it directly to your inbox. Thanks for watching.